Hey guys, welcome to the AVADirect second live stream. This is Shannon.
I am Joe.
And today we're going to be talking about all kinds of cool stuff, including the new 10 nanometer yield issues with Intel, maybe some new Intel Optane stuff, along with some really cool VR bundles. So first thing we want to jump into, what do you think, Joe? 10 nanometer, Intel's having a lot of problems. They had their earnings call and they admitted that once again, Cannon Lake is basically backpedaled to 2019, and that is a pretty big fab issue because they're having a lot of yield problems with that. How do you feel that's going to affect? Overall the competition between AMD and Intel?
Well, I mean, AMD's already way past that point with what, a 7 nanometer process. So at this point, Intel is just going to lose the race. And I'm not going to pretend to know about manufacturing on their level, but 3 years now they've been working at this. Feels like more. I don't know. I've lost track. So.
Well, it was due in late 2017. We know that was the thing, and it got pushed back, and that's okay. I mean, it happens, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of like the old adage with video games, you know. Late game can always become better, or will be better, but if you rush a game, it'll be forever bad.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'll give them credit for the fact that they're not pushing out a product that they know is likely to have problems. This is just the consumer in me getting frustrated at the fact that they keep building up excitement only to not be able to meet that excitement and instead meet it with bad news. So I don't think I'm alone in that regard.
Now, I traveled to AMD, last week? And we were talking about the fact that they have 7 nanometer stuff already coming out. We're going to actually see it, being the fact that we're partners with them. We'll see it before consumers do, which means we'll see them toward the end of 2018, as they've already announced. Lisa announced that not only that, but Vega or RTG, the Radeon Technology Group, is going to get a shot in the arm with 7 nanometer Vega before they move on to Navi.
Right.
So that being the case, once again, when it comes to NVIDIA, AMD, and now we've seen a lot of rumors, so to speak, that Intel might be entering the discrete market. So with them being able to get to 7 nanometer and Intel still doesn't even have a marketable product in 10 nanometer, do you think it's maybe time that Intel looks at possibly reinvesting and even doubling down and going toward something like a 7 nanometer fab, or should they finalize out their 10 nanometer and just move to that before moving on?
What I think they should do is they should find something different in the process that's going to shift focus. So everybody's focused on these nanometer sizes right now, and AMD's already releasing the 7, and Intel's still trying to push the 10. What I think they need to do is add some sort of feature or function to these processors to kind of forget, or help people forget that nanometer process is even taking place. Maybe find a way to improve the headroom on overclocking right now. Double it down even, because right now on average you get anywhere between 4 to 700 megahertz on their unlocked core or unlocked processors. Maybe they double that down and just blow everybody out of the water, and then everybody forgets about the nanometer size race. They just shift focus, and then now AMD's kind of left in the dust. Well,
they've been beating AMD for a while in their overclocking because right. AMD, admittedly, like we said, on Ryzen 2nd gen, not Ryzen 2 because that would be Zen 2, but Ryzen 2nd gen, even then, the XFR pretty much pushes the limit of the chip. So
right.
You don't have a lot on the table. But Intel can always overclock, and I feel like as these transistor sizes get smaller and you're packing more and more in, it's going to be harder to get those gates to open and close as quickly as we want. We always want to overclock more, but let's be honest. What performance improvement do you see in games? I mean, overclocking nets very little unless you have a game that's specifically around CPU performance, or even more so, multi-threaded performance.
Right, yeah. I mean, you'll always have limited situations to where you'll have a game that doesn't run nearly as well as you want it to, and then overclocking it might help get you right to that point to where it's going to make a huge difference, but I just don't think it's really going to matter a whole lot to where you'll want to invest hundreds of dollars more into a processor just for its overclocking capabilities when you have a cheaper option that's going to provide anywhere between a 5 to 7 frame rate per second difference. It just, for some people, doesn't make sense.
So with that being said, obviously we know that, okay, maybe as far as nanometer goes, that's not end-all tell-all. It all depends on how the lithography is laid out. So, I mean, when it comes down to the overall die structure, that's going to be a big difference. And I'm excited to see Zen Plus right now, but Zen 2, which is Ryzen 2, or whatever the moniker they decide to apply to it, on the 7 nanometer chips, I'm excited to see what they can do, because there's potential uplift where they can give incremental increase in overclocking, whereas Intel, once again, can spin the same technology you have now and possibly add some small feature benefits, like you said. Time will tell, but I still feel a little bit like if they're struggling at 10, what's going to happen when they push for something like 7 or 4 or somewhere along that way. Basically, Moore's Law is catching up with them. And
Right.
how do you feel this is going to impact overall the race, where right now Intel's led for years and years, and now I feel like AMD is given a serious market opportunity to actually catch up and be able to get to a point of stasis where Intel and AMD can actually have equivalent performance per watt?
It's essentially it's a timetable of games. Essentially, and AMD needs to take advantage of this time to really put themselves ahead of the race and position themselves appropriately and strategically compared to what Intel has on their agenda. But this could also be a situation to where maybe it's the same Intel that we've been seeing for the past decade or so, where they're just overly confident in their products, and they've had a reason to be, I'll give them that. But they could remain overly confident, and that's a perfect advantage for AMD to kind of swoop in and catch them off guard and introduce something that's going to blow everybody away. You know?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking as well. I wanted to get your input on it. Sounds like we're kind of on the same page as far as that goes, on what they can really do. Now I guess it comes down to, let's talk about something else, just launched, was Intel Optane 905P. Now I know Optane has kind of gotten a weird rep because it's become very confusing, because Optane launched with Optane modules, little Optane memory, which is the caching solution they had.
Right.
And it was only available for your primary storage, which we know most people have SSDs for storage. Most everyone has SSDs for their primary boot drive. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of pointless to boost an NVMe SSD. It just didn't make sense.
No,
now that they've unlocked it to be able to do a secondary storage drive, I see true market potential for this. Before going on to the other Optane products, how do you feel about that? I mean, I know caching has kind of been one of those things where you kind of question it and go, what exactly is the purpose? We don't like caching, things like that. But I've seen some recent improvements, such as with AMD Store MI and with Intel's Optane, where there's a real potential improvement, not just even on platter drives, but even boosting like a standard SATA, like 2 terabyte hard drive, like or SSD, like you have storing your games.
Right. I mean, especially you have professional individuals out there that are purchasing SSD storage to be used as scratch disk space, and sometimes if the library of all their projects they're storing is going to be beneficial based on flash as opposed to the platter drives, that's beneficial as well. And the fact that you can continue to use Intel Optane and its advantages that it has to provide on SSDs and secondary drives rather than forcing you to a boot drive position, that's largely advantageous, because especially if you consider the price differences between a 2 terabyte NVMe drive and a 2 terabyte SATA SSD, 2.5 inch, or mSATA if you have something that supports that form factor.
Does that still exist?
Rare occasion. You would believe that it wouldn't, and it really shouldn't, because that was kind of a form factor that we should have, in my opinion, just forgot that it ever existed.
But M2 SATA now, so it kind of doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It felt like mSATA was just around for maybe like less than a year, even though I know it was longer, but it felt like it was less than a year, and then here's M.2, and you're like, but what about mSATA? But M.2. It didn't make sense to me to transition something so quickly. But
it's a smaller form factor. Overall, it just works in certain cases.
They could have had problems with the fabrication process at the factory that were unknown to consumers. So for all we know, it's just, hey, we created our own problem. How do we fix this? Make it narrower and skinnier, and now everything's good. Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, but also you have, it's equivalent. It's a PCIe 4X lane, which means you actually can have similar to a plugging into a physical slot, like the add-in cards. Now that we're moving past that, like the Optane accelerators, we know there's some value there that you can actually boost to where commonly used what are called hot data, in other words, your commonly used files, specific game files, even though you have like an 80 gig game, most of the time, 1 or 2 gigs is really what is constantly being used.
Right.
So by accelerating that, you're able to give it much better performance overall, while retaining that space capability with a very small package. Now, moving to something like, let's say, the Optane 800 or the 900P, those are actual full-fledged SSDs, and while the 800 is something like 58 and like 118 gigs or something like that, so they're quite oddly sized.
Right.
They offer the same Optane performance, which is something I'm discussing in a minute about like the different queue depths, but now it offers a really fast boot drive for like your OS, maybe 1 or 2 games, depending on the size of games, because now we know games are going outrageous, like 100 plus gigs in some cases. So I feel like there's market potential there, but now one of the things is I feel like people don't really understand how queue depths work, how SSDs themselves work.
Well, so then why don't you explain what queue depths are?
Okay, so let's take a look at how all this works. Now, we're going to start off our storage discussion here with the dinosaur. This is kind of an oldie. And so This is Rex. Oh wait, we're talking, sorry, storage dinosaur. This. Now we're just going to pretend this is a SATA drive because I don't actually have a large spinner drive, but imagine this is like your standard SATA drive. You could have a queue depth of about figure 32. So basically by queue depth is when you take all your software, and let's say this is Mr. Windows. So Mr. Windows comes in here and says, hey, Mr. Storage, I need data. Give me data. I need to be able to access some of my common files. Then Mr. Game, let's say PUBG, decides, hey, I need stuff too. What happens is all these guys got to get in line. Well, I'm sure everyone has seen like sequential read, sequential write. What happens is, let's say these two pieces of PUBG are in close spaces on the physical disk. It can do what's called sequential. So it can grab both of these in a really quick succession, and it basically has a very fast algorithm that figures out what stuff can be grabbed the quickest and organizes the queue accordingly. Now, the reason SAS exists, because I'm sure you guys have seen like enterprise storage, things like SAS, where that can have a queue depth of up to 254. Because once you have this SATA drive, per se, once you hit 32 queues, basically anything past that gets tossed out and has to wait its turn well past what this queue depth can run. So now we're going to go ahead and go something a little newer. This is a SATA SSD. It's not going to wait nearly as long for Mr. Windows and Mr. PUBG to deliver files because it can move data a lot faster. So then we move across. We take things like NVMe, whether we're talking our Intel 750 or like a Samsung drive. All these can deliver things so fast, but NVMe now offers a queue depth of over 65,000, theoretically, of course, because some things can't necessarily handle that. But all in all, the data still has to get in line. All this stuff has to get in line and figure out when it can be pulled up. Now, most of the time, you're not going to have this many things. Most of the time, you're only going to be grabbing one or two things, or most of the time one, so queue depth 1. Because these drives are so fast before it receives another queue, this is already gone, and PUBG is now asking for its data. And it can fire this data out so fast that now your 4K performance, which at queue depth 1, becomes critical. And SSDs have always kind of had a problem, wouldn't you agree, Joe, with queue depth, with like QD1, like 4K performance?
Easily.
4K has always been difficult because that's where all these little tiny files, itty bitty files that make Windows run and are commonly used, are always having transactions in and out on the drive. So we're going to go ahead and move these guys. Then we have something from our friends from Intel. We picked one of these up, Intel Optane. Now, Intel Optane actually works in such a way that it can have up to 10 times the performance on a queue depth 1 or a 4K read transaction. And so what that means is your standard little files where you're doing things in Windows are now up to 10 times faster, which basically means instead of maybe let's say Microsoft needs a slightly bigger file, all of a sudden it's bouncing against that going, okay, waiting for you to respond, waiting for you to get stuff, then your queue depth starts to back up possibly. It never even hits that point because it moves so quick, up to 10 times faster. In most cases I've seen anywhere from 5 to 6 times and as low as 4 times. But it gets that, shoots it out to be able to be processed, and it's out of there before you even need anything else. So all these things can be fired across and give you a massive performance boost. One of the problems I have is a lot of people look at the price because yes, Intel Optane is much more expensive, and I know that's kind of a rudimentary way to describe it, but you get the idea. Basically, everyone here is just asking this guy for data and how you want to give it. So now, let's go ahead and we're going to back away so we can talk about this to you face to face. And as you can see, basically, the way it's described, all these QD1 transactions, the stuff your Windows does like 99% of the time, can all be done super fast on Optane. The problem is a lot of people haven't explained that well, and I probably haven't explained it the best way either.
No, give yourself credit. It's fantastic.
It was a dinosaur. We can't lose with dinosaurs. Just
great. Saying. It was a great dinosaur. Thank you.
So with that being said, you can have all this really cool capability built out from the Optane technology that allows you to transfer very small data, all the data sets that normally you're doing under normal workloads as a regular user. You can now knock that stuff out really quick with, let's say, Optane 700. You don't necessarily need the crazy high-end like the black 900p we have. You can actually do something, I'm not 700, I believe it's 800. Now I've got to screw that up. But you can drop these things in and you can have your OS just lightning fast while even using a separate Optane accelerator for, let's say, like your hard drive or your SSD that holds your games, and be able to give it a super fast performance potential directly out of the box with something like this compared to a regular SSD.
So really what you're saying is if you thought that your standards in terms of the speed of your PC was made worse by the use of SSDs, just wait. It's only going to get worse. I'm one of the most impatient people when it comes to using PCs, just at least within standard Windows. So I really want to give this a shot because it plays right into something that works for my typical usage. But I worry that if I do it, it's just going to reduce my tolerance even further and thus increase my rage, which I'm really, you know, in my age, I'm really not all about doing things that are going to make me angry for no reason. So I'm going to hold off a little bit, kind of let them fine-tune things, see how it develops, and then I will probably inevitably end up using it, and then it'll be a mixed bag. I'll be so happy that I have this at my fingertips, but then I won't want to touch anybody else's PC. So,
well, see, this is one of the things. I feel like this is the next generational step, like, because it's still NVMe based,
right?
But it now with 3D crosspoint memory, it's allowed it to be much faster for things you actually use it for. Because anyone who looks at, let's say, like, for instance, one of our partners, Samsung. I love their like 960 Evo Pro. I think we both use like high-end Samsung NVMe drives.
Yep.
And I love the things. They're great. But you know, the thing is, like, one of the things everyone touts is like, hey, it does 3,500 megabytes a second. When's the last time you've seen your drive do that?
I haven't yet. I haven't. The only time I've ever seen my NVMe SSDs actually run at the rated speeds is if I run a benchmark on it. Other than that, I mean, the last time I ever saw a huge difference in SSD performance was jumping from a hard disk to an SSD. That's apparent, right? So I wouldn't say use for it unless you're a professional, obviously, editing large files and such.
And that's what I'm looking at is more, it's about use case, because when it comes down to it, most of those numbers you're seeing are what's called QDAP32, which is like way out. So basically you have so many things, and then you have sequential performance. So basically all the data that's really close to each other, it can grab at that speed. The problem is, unless you're copying like large files from like one of the exact same drive to that other drive, for the most part, you're not going to see that theoretical performance. It's going to strictly be theoretical. Whereas with this 4K performance, you can actually see that real time anytime you boot your system.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a big plus. And they actually just announced, which I didn't actually bring over here, they actually just announced the 905p, which is the next iteration of this, which bumps performance a little higher, gives it some higher capacities, like over 960 gigs for an AIC, along with like almost 500 gig U2 drive. I know I haven't really seen a lot of people use U2, but
or listen to them.
It is a pass-through for PCIe, just like your M2 slot and all that. Now we're getting higher capacities, which means now these are becoming much more realistic as an actual storage item.
Yeah, the use case scenarios are actually becoming, well, real, for lack of a better term.
And with some of the workstation stuff we do, we build digital audio workstations, photography, video workstations.
3D modeling, yeah, you name it.
All of these things can now benefit from these massive performance increases, whether it be like a Samsung M2 or it be something like the Intel Optane, where you have so many small things transacting at the same time that it just allows that kick in the performance. That way it just keeps moving forward, and you don't get any hiccups or any slowdowns, especially during like real-time rendering, things like that.
Works for me, man.
And then one thing we have is we actually have a What's in the Box episode today.
Oh, what's in the box?
So let's take a look. We actually got a special box, a fun new toy to play with, and we're going to unbox it with you guys. And go ahead and take a look at what we have to play with here. Oh, it's not like we ever opened this before. I promise it's the first time we've opened it.
No, see, we rigged the box to do this.
Never mind the Scotch tape. It's okay. Yep. We've never opened this.
It came like that.
Oh, God.
Here.
Oh, this is heavier than I thought.
Here, teamwork. Just kidding. It's very lightweight and durable and easy to use.
It had flaming batteries, just saying. There's a flaming battery sticker on the side.
Oh.
I'm still not sure what the whole flaming batteries thing is about. Oh, it's got a handle.
Where's the flaming batteries? There we go.
Right on the side, flaming batteries.
Pink flaming batteries.
So that tells you HTC not just makes the VIVE Pro, but apparently flaming batteries.
That would be a pretty cool band name if you were just starting off, like a garage band, like flaming batteries.
Flaming dumpster fire.
The flaming batteries.
Bad
for the environment.
And this is what happens when you work here. This is awesome.
So what do we have, Shannon?
So right here we have the new VIVE Pro. This is actually something really special for us because we are HTC VIVE official partners. We are also official reseller for them. So we work directly with them on some of their new technology. We had our MUVR unit at the VIVE Pro launch. We actually have not just the headset and everything you can buy now. We have the complete the new lighthouses and everything, all one full kit. We wanted to show you guys this because upcoming really soon, we're gonna be working on maybe some game streams with you guys, and we'll definitely be showing off some VIVE Pro performance, showing some of our VR ready systems, how well they play with the new VIVE Pro, because it requires, with the high resolution, it requires a much higher performance system versus the original VIVE. So that's something to keep in mind when you want one of these bad boys.
And Shannon, we should also let people know, for the people that don't know, that the full kit is currently only available for enterprise solutions. So this is an enterprise kit that does come with everything. Consumer versions, you still have to purchase just the headset by itself and use it with the base stations and the controllers. Just bear in mind that the Pro, as far as I remember, it's not compatible with a few things, right?
Yeah,
Pro headset, there's certain things that you can't use and vice versa. You can't mix and match like the Pro peripherals that you see with the standard first-gen HTC VIVE peripherals. It's got to be all or nothing.
Yeah, it's actually got, let's go ahead and take a look at it, because I believe that there's some cool things they did with this, and I'm actually kind of happy to see if I can find out which side of the box actually opens.
I think we're in the right direction here, but it's very misleading.
I feel like feel like you've misled me. Yes, you have. You've misled me completely.
Go ahead and just, do the nail thing.
I feel like I'm going to use a very expensive SSD to puncture the. Let's use the Optane. Let's
Two in one.
Let's see how fast the Optane. Yep, the Optane drive can open that box really fast.
Optane box cutter.
That's what I want to use my Optane drive for, is to open boxes.
So the first thing you are greeted with is the download and setup.
Is that one? Okay. Are we going to open them by box number? Because this is getting real interesting.
We might as well just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 it, right?
Okay.
Makes sense. So this is one. In a multitude of, I'm going to say off the top of my head, like 15 languages.
There's a lot of languages there.
There's more. There's like 24 or so.
Is that South Korean? Does South Korean and North Korea have different languages?
South Korean, there's Russian.
Oh, wow.
There's Scandinavian, there's Espanol.
Can you read Scandinavian? I'm very
interested. There's Spanish.
Oh, God. Why is this happening?
I don't know.
So as you guys can see, wow, the new lighthouses actually are kind of sick.
Oh, they are really sweet.
So the new lighthouses with the probably awesome light glare. They're rounded in the front. They actually have a really wide field of view. Overall tracking, I think, are going to be really awesome with these. We'll be setting them up and letting you guys know here soon, since this is kind of actually our first time unboxing this.
Now, what makes these things really sweet, in essence, is the fact that the ability to connect a multitude of these in a single room, depending on your room space, it's a lot easier for syncing, and the tracking is also much more accurate compared to the first gen VIVE. Not to say it's not accurate, but they used a lot of the feedback. My hat's off to HTC here. They used a lot of the feedback that they got in enterprise and in-home use of their first gen VIVE kit, and they put a lot of it into play. So congratulations, HTC.
Now that we know North and South Korea are friends, I guess they can share the same instructions on HTC.
Well, I mean, it'd be a lot of money to reprint those instructions, though. So they're just going to, like, maybe they'll just put a little handshake icon in between the two languages. So it's just like, hey.
Oh, this is another one, dude. Check this out. The new VIVE link box. This thing has a single cable that comes from the headset that plugs in. So minus the whole spider web of cables that comes from the original VIVE.
What's wrong with spider webs?
I hate spiders.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Everyone, yeah, thanks. Everyone, now you can hook up this single cable and it goes out. So that is one thing. You can't swap out different cables. It's a proprietary cable, so I hate proprietary stuff normally, but I feel like this is something that, with it coming off of your headset, we've dealt with the massive bundle of cables that came on the original HTC VIVE. It's not a bad thing, but I feel like if this reduces the weight, which we'll know soon, if we can reduce the overall pull of that cable, is going to be a plus until they come up with a good wireless solution, which they're working on.
Now, let me ask you, do you think that the use of the proprietary connection was just for ease of use overall, or do you feel that that was a way to make sure that these link boxes stay within use with HTC VIVE products? And the reason why I say that is because if you check online, a lot of people started to use HTC VIVE link boxes to extend their connections for the Oculus.
I've seen that, and I was wondering the same thing. I'm not 100% sure. I don't want to speak on behalf of them for that fact, but I will say that it's
unofficially.
possible.
Unofficially. This is my own question.
Well, yeah, it's just something we're spitballing on, and what it comes down to is I feel like there is definitely potential that they saw that, and they were basically giving a leg up, which, I mean, who wants to give their competition a boost to their performance with their own hardware? I mean, granted, they're selling a link box, but I feel like, yeah, there's a potential there that they could have said, like, hey, you know what? We don't want people doing this. We want people to use our HMD. We want people to use our headset.
Right.
not giving people the opportunity to give their solution better performance by just using one piece of our hardware.
If you think about it, though, you can also look at it from the opposite perspective in a positive manner, and that, Oculus had to use our hardware for their stuff to work in a more feasible and dynamic manner. So you can look at it from that perspective.
There's that, and I mean, I guess only time will tell if all of a sudden you see a hacked together cable that goes from proprietary to an Oculus. We'll know that apparently if that was their plan, it failed. Yeah, so see, there's your proprietary cable.
And here is the HTC VIVE Pro. Now I have to say first off that I can't tell if the new headset looks like Wally or Johnny Five. So maybe you guys could just comment and let us know what you believe it looks like most, maybe, just kind of to get something going, because I can't make a decision. I can't tell if it needs more input.
I feel like I should have taken the paper out because I can't even see lenses, so that's cool.
So maybe take the paper out.
Hold on.
Just an idea.
Let's do the thing.
Take the paper out for you to be able to see a blank screen. That makes complete sense.
Okay, I need an RMA. This thing ain't working. Oh, goodness. Well, with that cable bundled up by your head, this thing gets pretty damn heavy. Check this out.
They're supposed to be coming out with some sort of wireless solution. Well, I got to take my glasses off, otherwise I'm going to have a real tough time.
Now, do you take your glasses off with your with the other headset?
No, not at all. It's just the thing is, it's a real tight fit. So I would be really curious to see how this fits with glasses, because admittedly, I haven't given it a shot with my glasses on yet.
Put your glasses on.
So.
Ooh. I feel like this is Joe scratching his glasses in 3, 2, 1.
I mean, compared to what happened last night, I doubt I'd scratch them any worse.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, without tightening it and actually, let's pull these off without damaging anything. I'm going to do it in the dark.
Let's take it off while you can't see it. This seems like a good idea.
I mean, why not? Try everything once, right?
We got a new segment, Joe doing things in the dark.
Is it just HD VIVE in the dark? Oh, God. Okay. I mean, this is pretty comfortable.
Hold on. You need to uncover the Johnny Five eyes.
No.
There we go. Hold on. Johnny Five is alive. Oh, wow. That really does look like eyes now.
I'm telling you, dude, right?
No. Take it off and look at it. Now it totally looks like eyes.
Oh, that's not creepy at all. That's like something you wake up your spouse with in the middle of the night, just tap on the shoulder. Like,
this is Johnny Five staring into your soul.
No, this is when he gets angry, like at the end of the second one, and his eyes turn red, and he's like, Eric.
Do that again? What was that?
No, Oscar's his name, right? Oscar, you been a bad boy. Woo. This is pretty comfortable. I have to say, the game changer for me, especially with their updated version with like the premium audio on the first one, was the fact that you had this little turn dial to lock it down instead of using the straps.
Yeah, instead of using like the side straps, you had to Velcro them.
Dude, it was a hell of a lot easier.
I feel like the head strap is definitely a lot better on this thing, the solid one. I feel like even the improvement on the original Vive when they did that, the only part that's now Velcro is the top right here, and that's because your upper headband. And now
not a big deal.
Now the last part's controls. I noticed they were a different color, but I'm kind of curious to see the difference since we have both Vives now.
Right.
To see the difference in performance between the two. See if one control maybe tracks better or something. That'd be something I think would be interesting.
Well, the one thing I like is that they actually kept to the color scheme of the headset, right?
Yeah.
The HND, because the first Pro controller, or the first corporate edition, I guess you could say, for businesses. The only difference was that the Vive icon was colored. That was about
and it had a blue surround on the cameras, which looked kind of odd.
They just lit their logo up light blue, and it was kind of neat. It just wasn't it wasn't distinct enough. What I like about this, and I hope maybe they'll do something different with the end user edition, but maybe they'll differentiate it to where everything, at least the controllers, maybe won't be blue, or maybe there'll just be a slight difference on these. That way you can kind of tell, just like, I don't know, from across the room, that they're different. Not that that's a game changer in any way, shape, or form, but those are things that I pay attention to, at least little nuances that I think can make a difference overall.
Okay, so if you guys are interested in watching us with some VR gameplay, things like that, and actually deploying the Vive Pro in use, please let us know. Reply, message us on Facebook. I'm sure Brooke will love that. We can just bomb us with all of the suggestions of games you'd like us to play. We will be segueing into shortly talking about the new VR bundle we have. But there are some questions I definitely want to address that were sent over. First of all, we have one from Ernesto. I know that dude. He wants to know...
Hi, Ernesto.
He works with a lot of internal and external hard drive setups. For an internal hard drive, what would be a great product for hot swapping drives without having to turn off my PC and installing multiple slots would be a huge plus.
Okay.
Now, Joe, you've dealt with these kind of solutions. What do you think?
Absolutely. So now that most boards will support hot plugging, which is essentially a board manufacturer's way of saying hot swap, not only can you support hot plugging individually by each SATA port, and right now it's limited to SATA as far as I've experienced so far, but you can get front 5¼ inch bay hot swap adapters that you would mount to the front of a case, or any case that has 5¼ inch on the side or the back, whatever, based on design. And as long as you connect those hot swap bays to the SATA port in which you've enabled hot plugging, then you can do just that. Now, that's going to be limited to supplemental drives. So obviously, if you pull out the OS drive while it's running, you will kill things. So don't do that. But it is very possible and easy to do.
Disclaimer, that might be a little dramatic, but things will happen.
Don't say that Joe told you to pull out your OS drive and hot swap because everything would be okay, because that's not true. Please don't. No.
However, because we're saying storage, memory does not hot swap no matter what.
Right.
Just saying.
No, please don't go reaching into your PC and pulling out DDR4 or even DDR3, depending on the age of your system, right out of the DIMM slot, because you'll probably cry and your system will scream at you, likely obscenities.
And possibly catch on fire like those batteries on the HTC box.
Or zap you.
Or all the above. All at the same time.
Right, all the things.
And what could happen once that happens?
Sure.
And then there's another question from Jason. Will AVA ever make it to PDX land? And oh my God, I love PDX land. You guys are awesome.
I've heard great things from Shannon. I really want to go, especially because I come from a day and age when like LAN parties were a thing because you had no choice unless you wanted to do like dial-up modem, like with what I used to do with my brother when I was growing up with like Duke Nukem or Doom. But I really want to go to PDX land.
Yeah, I've been very, very, very enthusiastic about my time at PDX land. I'm looking forward to the time when AVADirect can sponsor it. We can come out there and show you guys some awesome VR setups, awesome gaming systems, maybe even bring Joe along so that he can do his voices in person, and maybe we can even do a live stream from there. Who knows?
Yeah, I might find somebody that I know there who knows. I go, who dat, Bips? So we'll just have to wait and see.
And you guys want this at PDX land. I mean, for real.
I swear I'm a lot of fun. I promise.
And now, with this HTC Vive, I think we can, the What's in the Box session is over. So we can go ahead and buy box. See, Vive Pro, yay.
We're going to have to, can you just, group effort
We're going to have to do a thing.
But,
oh, that was good.
That wasn't the bubble wrap, Shannon.
Oh, God.
You can't fool us.
That was my SSD?
Nope.
No, it was bubble wrap, thank goodness.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, right.
Wasn't anything important.
Yeah, got it.
Everything's safe so far. Hold on, I'm going to tilt this dinosaur drive back over, otherwise it's going to fall over and make a lot of noise.
That's okay. I was expecting Jurassic Park music when you had the dinosaur, by the way.
You're the music guy. You're the one that makes like noises. I barely speak. And with that, we actually have a HTC. We actually have a VR bundle with our friends from Intel.
Thank you, Intel. Thank you.
If you want to check out our website, we're going to have a screenshot of that up right now so you can see exactly where it's at. It's not on our top rotating banners. It's actually on our promo banners down below that. And so it should be showing you that right now. And then from there, we can go ahead and we're going to take a look at some of the games that are involved in this thing. Part of it being, starting with the VR games that are in it, we have Sprint Vector, Raw Data, one you know for sure, Joe, Arizona Sunshine.
Arizona Sunshine, man, and it's got the actor that does, it was the actor that was in Walking Dead that, I won't release spoilers, but, you know, part of Negan's group. And then he also did the voice for Grand Theft Auto 5 for Trevor, right? Great guy.
Yeah.
Awesome guy.
And it's a really fun game. And I mean, I've watched Joe play it. I am actually personally working on setting up some VR at my house so I can have some fun and play Arizona Sunshine and actually...
Finally.
Oh, okay, fine. I'm ahead. I'm sorry. I like breakthrough tech, and I just haven't gotten like VR yet because I have weird motion sickness.
No,
issues.
you didn't. You should be transparent about that because HTC would be proud. You bought an Oculus because it was a good price point. You're like, Joe, help me. I'm doing something wrong. I'm like, nope, that's right. And you're like, this is it. This is VR. I'm like, well, that's Oculus's VR. And then you came into work the next day. I'm like, how was it? You're like, I don't know. It's back at Best Buy.
Yeah, I basically returned it. I returned to my Oculus within days of purchasing it.
Yeah. It was that good.
It was that
Couldn't
awesome.
take it anymore.
It was that awesome. I'll give them credit. Their headset was really lightweight.
It is lightweight.
But that thing, the tracking on it, like,
their controllers are awesome too. But yeah, dude, once I admittedly all I knew was the Oculus. Then I used the HTC Vive, and the first game I was playing them both with was Arizona Sunshine, and there were a couple of dead spots in the Oculus. You'd reach up, and you'd put the gun in your peripheral like you'd aim down an actual barrel of a weapon, and it would skip, and it would judder, and pull you out of the experience. And the HTC Vive, it was just like butter. It's like, oh.
You can't tell we're a Vive partner at all, can you? Never mind the fact that Joe actually has an Oculus in his house.
I do, and it's currently gathering dust because I have to spend 45 minutes setting it up just so I can play it for 25 minutes in a space that really can't be detectable because of the Oculus sensors. The moment I set them up in an actual position, it's like, no, do it again, and I do it again. It's like, all right, that sensor's good. Now work on that sensor. I'm like, I'm done. I'm just going to go upstairs, eat half of a cheesecake, and pass out because now I'm depressed.
And cry.
Maybe. It depends.
Well, I almost cried trying to set it up, and then when I finally did, I was playing Robo Recall, which actually was a really fun game.
Great game.
Until I went like this. I'm like, I'm going to look this way, and my character goes, bloop, and like went somewhere, and I'm like, I'm going to throw up now. Time to take off this headset. Problems. So once that happened, it kind of killed my whole enthusiasm for the whole VR thing.
I can only imagine Ashley in the other room, like it's quiet, and she just hears the clicking of controllers and like the squeaking of your chair, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh.
No, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, this cannot be that bad. It must be me. So I'm like, here, hon, put on my headset. She puts it on, I go, here, I'm gonna move. I move like half an inch, she takes it off and goes, nope, I'm done. And that was literally like the extent of my Oculus testing.
Right, and that besides the differences, besides the obvious removal of immersion of people just like mess with the outside of the headset, because a few people have done that to me here, which I won't name names, have just shook me while I was using the VR headset, or just like, ah! And it just, you can't see anything around you. It's a complete disadvantage. You literally are. It was Joe in the dark, to reference what you said previously. It's exactly what it felt like, and it was not nice.
And we do have another question before we move on to the other games. Speaking of LAN events, are there any near you guys? I know for sure, my friend Wes at LAN OC, there's one local. I'm not sure on the other ones. I know there are some, but LAN OC, huge shout out to those guys. They're awesome, and they are not super close, but they're close enough. We
did also dabble with the idea of hosting our own LAN event. So if that is something that is of interest to you, and part of it, at least fueled by an individual like me that's lived in Ohio for well over 29 years.
I haven't lived here that long.
I mean, that's something I've always wanted to do because there are no LAN events. And even though we're in a day and age where you can just connect to Steam or Origin, or we won't name the other one.
You fail? I mean, wait, what?
We just want to bring that back to people. You know?
Well, you also have BattleNet. You have like, I don't know, you have like 4,000 different
There's was it GOG now that is a collaboration with CD Projekt Red, right?
I feel like pretty soon every game's gonna have its own launcher.
I hope not.
I mean, you look at like World of Warships, you look at War Thunder, World of Tanks, all these things, like all the Gaijin games, wargaming games, they all have their own launcher.
And you know what, I'd be okay with that?
All of them.
Honestly, I would be okay with that if they wanted to have their own launcher, as long as there was some way to unify them all. So like, let's say you have like Discord. What if Discord adds some sort of module to where it's kind of that handles like the friend capacity and the chat capacity? I mean, that'd be okay, even though I really don't use much of Discord anymore anyways. But as long as that happens, I'm okay with the different launchers. No big deal. It's just a shortcut in your desktop, like the way things used to be when it was just nothing but a DRM war, and then we were good.
Oh, you mean like Xfire and all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah.
I remember all that, but then you have Discord, which was the new, and I actually like Discord a lot until all of a sudden they started introducing like, hey, we're going to put all these cool features in and ruin the experience. And it's like, oh, awesome.
Once they added the bot features, and I was just getting notifications that I missed things in a room, and then I actually cared to check it and look, and it's just something that means absolutely nothing to me, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah, I can't even count how many Discord channels I have like notifications turned off at this point.
Right.
I can't even.
There was one question I wanted to actually dial back to. It was a good question. Somebody had pointed out, and maybe you'll know this, Shannon, because I don't have a whole lot of experience in this area, but somebody pointed out that Intel Optane doesn't work in Linux. Well, do you think that's because there just isn't enough investment into that solution to make it work, or
they're talking about Optane, the actual? They're talking Optane like the caching technology,
right?
And that's because the software simply doesn't exist yet. Okay. I know Intel has an internal open source team. I can actually reach out to them. Maybe by next week I'll be able to get you guys an answer as far as. And I know that was Dan. He's actually the one that I helped out with the testing for XDA developers. There we go.
Oh, nice.
So he's actually a really good dude. He's helped. He's the kind of, we've worked together on a lot of things, and I feel like that's a beneficial relationship. So I will definitely be digging down the information if possible for you, Dan.
Nice.
Because that is something that I think would be a cool feature to be able to enable that on Linux, because of the fact that Linux runs so smooth and easy to begin with. If you can load it off of something and just be able to accelerate that volume, that would be huge, I think, for users who prefer Ubuntu, Red Hat, whatever your flavor of Linux of the 3 billion that exist. You could roll with that and actually have a really cool experience, just like all the other regular PC Windows-based users. And I just realized that all of my chat stuff is not moving. Awesome. That is awesome. I'm glad that happened.
I was just taken out of my element and caught off guard. Thanks, Steve.
I was just put in a position that Windows decided to, as I'm talking about Linux, apparently Windows is like, no, we're not going to talk about them because I'm going to lock you up now.
It must have been a special update.
Then they had one called Break Room, kind of interesting. It's like a multi-desktop simulator for VR. And then they had one that I know I was actually discussing with you earlier that looks like it's going to be completely badass. It's going to be really cool. Is Intercosmos, where you get to be a Cold War era cosmonaut.
Duh.
And you're in a capsule that is apparently failing, and everything's in Russian. And you've got to try to figure out what switch to flip. So I have a funny feeling this will be a fun one for me and you to stream. Because, by the way, guys, if you're interested, we are most likely going to be doing like a game with AVA day, where we're going to have at least like once a week, one of us, whether it's Joe, me, maybe even one of our other guys here, where we'll be playing games with you guys. We'll be showing off some cool new stuff, maybe even having opportunities to play against you or with us.
We may even do scavenger hunts too. So if you pay attention and you watch the streams, and we ask you questions after the fact to say, who did what with this, and what happened during this occurrence, and what color of shorts was Joe wearing when he ran out of the field in PUBG and blew himself up with a grenade. You never know. We'll think of something interesting for you guys to do to be interactive.
You don't wear clothes in PUBG.
I mean, it depends on the occasion. I mean,
are you trying to say you just do that when I'm around? Because that could be a little awkward.
No. Usually the time I will do that is if I know that I am facing imminent death. I will strip all my clothes down. I will run at somebody carrying nothing but like a pistol. They'll kill me. They'll think I have a cache worth of stuff, and I'll just have absolutely nothing but maybe a crowbar.
And sadness.
Many times before, yes. Well, I'm not sad at all. I'm setting them up for failure. Like they're going to waste a butt ton of ammo trying to kill me just for them to be able to loot, a banana from me, and that's it. All that for nothing.
So Intercosmos, you get to be a cosmonaut.
Yes.
How could this go badly with us playing it?
And not at all. It's going to be nothing but good things.
I feel like
Stop being so pessimistic.
I feel like this is going to be happy times.
Happy, friendly fun times.
And now, with that, also, we have some non-VR games on the list. Things like Cuphead, 1930s cartoon style. I mean, that thing is...
Haven't played that yet, but I'm really interested to give it a shot.
I know there, actually Ernie, one of the guys that's watching, I talked to him. He actually was digging that game quite a bit, and he said had a lot of good stuff to say about it.
Yeah.
There's also some other stuff there, like World of Tanks content, Warhammer, I know I'm going to say this wrong, I'm going to butcher it, Vermintide 2? Wow, could that be any more difficult?
Warhammer.
Vermintide 2.
Vermintide. If I said it 4 times really fast.
If I said it wrong, please just message your hate to me directly, not to AVADirect, because it's me. I can't read, apparently. I can't do the functional thing.
He know read royal.
I know read right. And then we have Redout, which is anti-gravity ultra speed racing. It's like this really crazy. It kind of reminds me of F-Zero. It's like, I don't know if you remember that game.
Falcon.
I don't know if you remember that game from a billion years ago.
Yeah. Super Nintendo.
Great, we're old. Awesome.
I still remember the music too. Like it was yesterday.
What if it was yesterday and we're all like in this weird time paradox? I feel like bad things are happening. Okay, this is getting really awkward.
You asked for it.
Now, the way you qualify for this for this promo is you get any AVADirect rig powered by Core i5 or i7. So basically, any Core i5, i7 rig that is VR ready, you can take advantage of getting this bundle. That's a huge one. That's actually really cool because if you look, it's like $250+ worth of VR and non-VR content. Some really cool VR games, things. I mean, hell, I've seen you play Arizona Sunshine, but I didn't want to try my luck again with Oculus, so I decided not to partake when I went over your house. But I will say that it looks like a lot of fun until you almost get destroyed by like 1,000 zombies around you.
What I like about it the most is that they like the Last Man Standing version that I was doing, so I wasn't doing the storyline. You can play with other people. So like I played with Chris, my brother, when I was visiting family out of the city, and he was just sitting home and he was playing with me. And like I don't think you could communicate with each other at the time because I didn't update it. Okay. But you could just see. Because the thing about VR is there's that humor element to it, to where you can see like their arms and their motions, but they're still just like a stiff body, right? So you could just see like the other person just kind of dancing around in the corner. So I would love to get us, if we're gonna do like Let's Play videos and stuff, I'd love to do that between the two of us. That would be really fun.
That would be.
Yeah.
So now I guess the other part would just be asking people, what would you like to see us play? Because we are going to have some of our live stream with video games, things like that. We're going to be streaming games, everything from PUBG, you know, to maybe even stuff like Cuphead.
No Fortnite.
I can't do Play School Fortnite, or I can't do Play School PUBG. Sorry.
Play School Fortnite.
No, Play School PUBG. That's what Fortnite is to me. It's like, okay, don't get me wrong. I actually love the concept of Fortnite. That's actually a good topic. Is
Fork knife.
Fortnite, fork cry. I don't know.
Fork knife.
No, dude.
Spoon.
Okay. Have you actually tried building in Fortnite while playing like the Battle Royale?
Yeah, and if you set it up appropriately to where you can flip-flop between the two, it's actually not too bad. What I don't like is what that element adds to the game, because then I've seen videos where people are down to a tiny little circle and they can't move, and they're just like, okay, here I am, and they look up, and here's the tower, like 20 stories up above you, and you're just like, okay, cool, so we could just sit here until somebody either gets out of the circle or somebody lands a bullet. I respect PUBG for the fact that there's realism to it, to where it's like, no, we're going to drop the circle out in a field in the middle of nowhere, and you're either going to murder each other at some point, or we're going to drop you down to pans, and that's it.
Yeah, dropping down to, actually, that's why I want to get custom games going, because pans only and, you know, like 50 times speed circle just so everyone dies would be awesome.
I only want pans only if you could do pans only, and also drop all 100 people in a restricted, like a restricted size, and then you have to record the audio to that. The pans, the constant noise of people getting panned one after the other. That would be my nightmare in real life. So I don't know how I would really react to that, even though it sounds funny now, but we just have to see. But let us know what kind of games you want us to play, or what you want to see us play, and that goes for both either some of the promotional stuff we do, or games you may want to play along with us when we do the live streams. Well, so either way, I'm open to it.
The other thing I see that like Dan's saying, I hear Alien Isolation and Resident Evil are scary as heck in VR. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not a big scary game fan. I remember playing the
Huge.
I played the original PlayStation version of Resident Evil, and when the dogs came through the window, it scared the living hell out of me. That was, you know what I'm talking about, when you're walking through that hallway and all of them jump through, and I'm like, whoop, I'm done with this game for a while.
I shut my PlayStation off out of reaction. It was like a 3-part reaction. I just went, it's like, I'm done. I didn't even think about it. I just like turned off my PlayStation and realized I hadn't saved. And like, I waited like a week for like the anger to subside that I lost all that saved it, and I played it. But I would have to agree with him. I've been holding out playing Resident Evil 7. I still have not played it because of the fact that, based on Capcom's previous release schedule and data, that they were going to come out with Resident Evil 7 for VR and the PC a year after the exclusivity agreement was signed with Sony, and that's come and gone. That was last January. Wait, Capcom, where is it? I'm waiting patiently. I'll pay full price. I don't care. Just not full price for games like Fallout 4 VR. We're not going to go there.
Well, Fallout 4 VR is, I mean, I've watched the series, you know, the guy who, I can't remember his name right now, but Fallout 4 VR is a nightmare. Is it the
English dude?
Yeah. He's done another one like Skyrim VR is a nightmare. Dude, it is hilarious.
It's awful.
It makes me want to try it, though. That's the thing. Videos like that are just, it's like seeing it's like
Let us know if you want to see Shannon play Fallout 4 VR knowing he hates it, just strictly to torture him.
You mean Resident Evil?
No, you said Fallout 4. You didn't want to play it, but you want to try it. It makes you want to play because how awful it is.
Oh, absolutely.
But even Resident Evil 7, yes. And if somebody has any kind of programming capabilities in any way, shape, or form, modifying system files, please take a model of anything and turn it into a spider and hand it over. And hand it over, and we'll go from there.
If you guys ever want to see me on this live stream again, please don't do that.
Or if you want to see Shannon pee his pants on live TV, please do.
That's it. I'm wearing a diaper on any Let's Plays from now on. I'm going to be wearing like an adult diaper because I'm not about that life.
A spider diaper.
Also, Ernie's saying Far Cry 5, please, plus Cuphead first, though.
Okay. Which
I tend to agree, because Cuphead is, from what I've seen, it looks like a lot of fun. It's kind of one of those side-scroller games. It looks like it's going to be a lot of really cool stuff. Resident Evil 2 did that with the liquor. I'm not sure. I'm missing that reference.
The liquor. You know what the liquor is? It's one
like
of the
whiskey, or
no. Are you right? Oh God! Shot of whiskey shows up in front of you.
Well, I wouldn't shoot it. I'd drink it.
No, but that's the liquor is one of those. It's one of those creatures, and they never really confirm what creature it comes from. The movies said it came from a human, but the games never confirmed it either way. It's on 4 legs and it's got its brain exposed and it can crawl on ceilings.
Oh, I seen that thing that goes upside down, and then it's like the thing of nightmares. Then I decide I'm not going to sleep for a week.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
Yeah, they introduced it in Resident Evil 2, and that was one of the first things when playing Resident Evil as a kid that used to get my adrenaline going because they moved really fast. So unless you were familiar enough with the game to be comfortable with the controls and know which weapons to use, you would die almost instantly because it was just like two strikes and you'd just be on the ground. So, and then the Alien Isolation is another game that I have yet to play on VR because it was scary enough without VR. So I don't know if I want to give myself a heart attack yet. I'm still on the fence.
Well, why would you want to give yourself a heart attack? I don't want to put myself in a position where I could have a heart attack. Apparently, Joe's trying to decide if he wants to give himself a heart attack.
It's just it's for the same reason people like spicy food. It's just something that it's a challenge maybe. It's just different.
I feel like the after effect is probably the biggest negative,
Maybe. So maybe I could eat really spicy food while I'm playing Alien Isolation, and we'll see what happens. Like you can just drop like ghost peppers in my mouth while I'm playing Alien Isolation.
I feel like we've had enough bad food choices with you going. By the way, we had to rush our lunch to make sure we made our schedule because we fell behind today. And so he decided, in the infinite wisdom, to go
Chinese buffet.
Chinese buffet.
No regrets.
I decided to do high-speed lunch from like McDonald's, which is always a bad life choice.
It's a high speed. I just imagine you fisting cheeseburgers in your mouth. On the way back.
Not far from the truth, but I mean, I'm like, oh God, we're late for sound check. Because, we're trying to do things professionally now. As you can see, we kind of finished some of our studio.
Yes.
Thanks to Brooke, Shannon, and a few others. We've knocked out a lot of really cool stuff. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you, ladies.
The people you don't see on camera, they
could not do this without either of you.
Yeah, otherwise we would probably sound like crap and have horrible lighting like last time where we tried to hack it together. So you will progressively see this live stream getting better and better as time goes on.
We hope. We will strive for.
Now, part of what we discussed before is going to be our the fact that AVA plays. So basically, we're going to be, it's yet to be titled as far as what we're doing, whether it's AVA plays or whatever it may be. We are going to be playing hopefully weekly or bi-weekly, depending on how much you guys like it. We'll be playing games, live streaming with you guys. We'll be having co-op with you guys, playing on teams, playing against, or sometimes just playing a single-player game we want to show off and get your guys' feedback on what we can do. Maybe we'll come up with some other cool activities, ways to win things, giveaways, things like that. So we definitely need your feedback on what you want us to play. Let us know so that we can make better content for you guys. We can do all that cool stuff. Along with, please check out our VR bundle because there are some awesome VR-ready PCs that we built here at AVADirect, and this is something where we really want to give you guys some cool games, give you ways to show off your new VR prowess, so to speak, and also be able to join us. If we're doing a collaborative VR game, we would love to see what you guys have going on and how well you guys are and how good you guys can play against us, since I'm horrible at most games and I'm okay with that.
I will even say, too, doing this for as long as I have, this VR bundle is one of the most awesome and high-quality bundles we've ever had the pleasure of offering. So it is an amazing deal because usually when you get these large-scale bundles, it's usually a lot of indie titles and stuff that developers are just trying to get the word out there about their games and what they've created, and these are some solid titles, man. Like, I paid money for Arizona Sunshine, and I wish I would have been patient.
Well, the thing is, now we have a whole bundle of games. We will be getting those all downloaded on our game stream system, most likely the AVADirect Scorpio you guys saw before, the big crazy hardtube orange Core P5, and that will likely be our gaming platform for a little while, kind of showing you guys some of the gaming performance we build here, along with some other cool stuff on future live shows. We want to thank you very much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and end it here, and we look forward to seeing you next time.